The next step is we're actually going to add a fastener to help keep this dowel in place. And the last step when we assemble this, we were asked to make sure that this dowel doesn't stick out too far. As you fold and unfold the stool over time, this dowel can move in and out. So at this point we will fasten this dowel so it can always stay flush. So here's a good chance to open the hinged leg. Make sure that dowel is not sticking out any further than the wood. If it sets back just a little bit, that is okay, as long as it's not sticking out and getting in the way of the hinge. This side looks great. This other side looks just fine too. At this point, if your classroom is equipped with an air compressor, I would recommend shooting a pin into the top support of each side. You will center the nail gun over the dowel and shoot one pin into each top support. And what you are doing is securing this dowel from going left or right or for twisting, and it will hold this in place. If your classroom is not equipped with an air compressor, a simple hammer and finish nail will do. A 3/4 of an inch nail max is all you will need, where you can put the nail centered over the dowel and then center it in the thickness of the center support, the top support, and simply hammer this into place, and do one on each side. Hammer them down flush, and at this point you have now kept this dowel to where it needs to be, and it will not move left or right throughout the rest of the project. Now we're ready to start assembling the tops and leg supports. Since we are using the inside tenons, we need to find the leg support that has the greatest distance from the end to the hole. So this is the one that has the greatest distance between the end of the board and to the hole, and that is the one we will be using. I recommend using a yellow glue, all-around woodworking glue that works great for the shop. Is Titebond 2. It has many different applications and it's a good glue. Any other yellow glue from your local hardware store, Lowe's, or woodworking outlet will work just fine. Go ahead and put a good amount of glue. You do not need to fill the hole. You just need to cover the bottom of the hole, just enough to cover. If you fill it up too much and you go to push this on, it will all squeeze out and run. So all we're doing is putting enough glue on there to cover the bottom, and this will help hold this. That will hold this in place when it dries. Sometimes you can press it down by hand, or again, keep your rubber mallet handy for hammering it together. At this point, we do not need this other leg support. Set that aside and find the correct tabletop. We need, since we are using the inner tenons sticking up, we need to find the tabletop that has the inner holes, the greatest distance from the end of the board to the hole. This is the one we need. Go ahead and set the other one aside. At this point, leave the tabletop right on your work surface, and what we will do is flip this entire assembly into place and set it on there. Do not forget to use your wood glue. Fill in each hole with just an amount that will hold down on, just enough that will cover the bottom. It is also not a bad idea to take a finger and wipe it around and hit the other faces inside the tenons. This way you're creating a better glue joint, and the glue will help hold this in place better. The glue is in the tenons. Your assembly is ready to be flipped over and put in place. What we're going to try to do is line up our 4 tenons into the top, into the proper holes. Get them close. Sometimes it'll push right down by hand, and sometimes you need a little persuasion with a rubber mallet. Okay, at this point, double check that the leg support is stayed where you need it. The top support is in. Look along these edges here and make sure there isn't any big gaps. If there's any excess glue sticking out, a wet paper towel will be good to clean the edges of the glue so it doesn't show on your finished project. This would be a good point to stop and let the glue set up for about 15 minutes. It's a good point to review with the students and prep your parts your remaining parts for the next step. But if we were to flip it too early, the glue will have a tendency to run. So I would recommend letting the glue sit for a good 15 minutes before. If you have a heavier object laying around, you can lay them in place, and that will just help keep the boards in place. If you're seeing it want to pop up at all, if you have a clamp or a textbook with some more weight to hold it in place. But you are almost ready to move on to finish assembly, and go ahead and let this sit for a few minutes while you get ready for the next step.